Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am at, where are we, Wednesday, just after Easter. Hopefully you all had an amazing Easter and spent some time with your families, and hopefully the Easter Bunny came out for your kids and hid lots of eggs and all your kids were hyper. Anyway, my name is Nancy Abdou. Let me get comfortable. My name is Nancy Abdou. I'm the founder and educator of the Australian Dermal and Laser Institute, where we deliver all sorts of training. And there's been a lot of talk about electrolysis. So one type of training we provide is definitely electrolysis training. So that's very, very exciting. And as well as Diathermy, amongst other devices. And that includes IPL, laser. We provide training for epiblading, plaque spot, plasma fibroblasting, fat cavitation, radio frequency, electroporation, you name it. If you've got a device, we can train you on it. And we can also train you not just for its intended purpose, but also for its off-label purpose as well. So you can maximize the benefits of having that device in your clinic. So if that sounds like you and you don't know how to use your device to its full potential, then I will be definitely able to help you utilize your device. All right. So let's have a look at electrolysis. Electrolysis has been around for many, many years. It's actually quite an old technology, and it first came into the aesthetic market or the beauty market. Well, actually it wasn't even aesthetics, it was for ophthalmology. It initially came because an ophthalmologist wanted to treat ingrown eyelashes. That's right, ingrown eyelashes. And so the first electrolysis device was made. And so from there, and that started off with galvanic, by the way, and I'll explain what galvanic is. And started from there, came about thermolysis, and then the third era or wave of electrolysis was when both galvanic and thermolysis were combined together. And I'll tell you why in a moment. But if you have any questions before I go ahead, please, or even during the actual talk, please put your comments. I've got you here on Instagram and here on YouTube and Facebook. So I'm going to look at my Facebook because that is where we're going to be recording this, and you'll be able to re-watch this. So for those on Instagram, I'm sorry, I won't be looking at you. All right. So let's have a look. There's three types of way to deliver electrolysis. But before I get into that, what is it? Why is it coming back in fashion? Why did it go out of fashion? And why the consumer, why are they asking more and more about it? So electrolysis was quite popular, I would say easily well and truly over 10 years ago. I know when we had our clinics across Melbourne, we delivered electrolysis, and our electrologist, Tasha, was consistently delivering electrolysis to our clients. But over the last 10 years, over the last decade, it's kind of slowed down and it's become not completely redundant, I would say somewhat redundant. So the reason for that is it can be painful, it can be slow, or it is slow, and you are treating one hair at a time. So with the rise and the insurgence of IPL and laser hair removal taking over, we found electrolysis starting to take a bit of a nosedive. Now, why is it coming back in vogue or in fashion? The whole reason is because with electrolysis, it is colorblind. It uses both galvanic and radio frequency, and I'll explain that, like I said, in a moment, but it uses these currents that essentially are colorblind. What do I mean by that? So when we are treating with light-based modalities, so laser or IPL, the color of the skin is really important in determining the settings and the parameters and the wavelength that we're actually utilizing. The reason for that is, and let's put this in a really simplistic manner, is if you have a black car and a white car in the sun, the black car gets hot, the white car reflects. So if we think about skin, the darker the skin, the more absorption there's going to be. The fairer the skin, the less absorption. Now, if we put this analogy into hair, if you have a black hair and a white hair, the black hair gets hot, the white and blonde hairs, they don't get hot. And so there's two problems. If there's a lot of melanin in the skin and not enough melanin in the hair, what do you think is going to happen? The hair's not going to get hot enough in order for it to get destructed or destroyed, but the skin will absorb too much heat and potentially actually burn, all right, cause grazes. So that's one problem if the skin has too much melanin or tan or color or what have you. So the secondary problem there is if the hair is not dark enough. So if the hair's not dark enough, it's not going to absorb enough heat, and if there's not enough heat, it's not going to be able to destroy the stem cells and the blood supply. Now, the other impact or the other effect with IPL laser, or the problem, is, give me 1 second. Yes, can you take Claro? Hey, Adam. Anyway, so the other thing is if you've got a blonde hair, again, that's not going to be able to absorb enough light or energy for destruction. And if you have red hair, so if you've got a skin type, Fitzpatrick skin type 1 or a 2, and there's not enough melanin in that particular hair, and the right melanin, remember there's pheomelanin and there's eomelanin, so if it's not that brown, black, and if it's red hair, red hairs will not actually absorb that light and that energy. So this is where electrolysis comes in. Electrolysis, it doesn't matter so much about your skin type. It does in whether you're going to be choosing galvanic or thermolysis, but it doesn't matter so much about your skin typing because we can actually treat all Fitzpatricks or most Fitzpatricks. And more importantly, it doesn't matter what the hair color is because the electrolysis is actually color blind. We're able to pick and choose whichever hair, whichever skin type, and it's not going to cause any long-term negative impact on the actual skin itself because there's no absorption by the melanin in the skin. So what we've seen in the market over the last 10 years, there's been amazing insurgence of IPL and, like I said, laser hair removal or reduction, I should say. That's the technical terminology. It's laser hair reduction. Whereas with the darker hair, we're not getting that absorption. Sorry, we are getting that absorption, whereas with lighter hair, we're not. So people are getting IPL'd and lasered, and what's happening is they're actually left with white, blonde, and those grey hairs, and red hairs can't get treated. So that's what is happening now, that your older clientels are missing out. You've got all these therapists who are learning how to remove hair with these other devices, light-based devices. But what about clients who don't either have the melanin or who are older, who want to get rid of that maybe facial hair or hair that hasn't got any color? And like I said, this is where electrolysis comes to play. So there is basically two ways of delivering this energy, and that is either galvanic. And what happens is with your galvanic, your client needs to be holding a rod, so there's a grounding pad, and you've got the actual the applicator. The applicator is inserted into the follicle, and when we're emitting that energy, that galvanic causes a chemical reaction, and so we have what is called lye. This lye is highly caustic, so it's like a caustic acid, I guess, but not enough to cause harm to the skin, but enough for it to actually harm the follicle. And that includes the stem cells that we can see down the bottom of the bulge here, your blood supply, and even when we've actually taken the applicator or the needle, the probe out of the follicle, the lye keeps actually working to disrupt the bottom of that bulge there. So we're putting in this needle, there's a chemical reaction, and the hair is disabled, regardless of skin color and hair type or hair color. The second way of performing electrolysis is, well, it's called thermolysis. So the name therm, we're actually using heat, so radio frequency essentially, with an insulated needle. So what happens is you have a needle, so we've got our needle here, that is fully insulated, and you've got this radio frequency heat coming out of the end of our probe. So the actual needle goes in, and we're actually disabling the follicle, the stem cells, and the blood supply. So that is a faster method, but it produces heat. And so it's not going to be suitable for all skin types, say for really sensitive skin, for example, or for your darker Fitzpatricks, because we're worried about post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So in that instance, thermolysis might not be a great choice for darker skin types because we are causing that trauma. So in that case, you might want to go back to your galvanic. Now, the problem with galvanic and why galvanic was sort of not used as often, or why it's not used as often, is because with your galvanic, you need to wait for this chemical reaction to take place and for the lye to basically rise up to the mouth of the follicle. So it's actually visible around the mouth of the follicle. And that can take anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes for this chemical reaction to take place. The problem with that is it's very slow. And this is where the third way of electrolysis evolved, and it's the blend method. And this is where we have galvanic and a little bit of RF just to actually expedite that lye and that reaction that's being caused in the follicle. And now, instead of waiting 1 to 2 minutes, we're actually reducing our time, and that time will depend on the thickness of the follicle and so forth. So the thickness of the hair rather. And so we're able to reduce the time. And the thing with lye, like I said, is it continues to work. So we're able to actually treat several hairs. Let's say, a cluster, let's say 10 hairs, move to another area, allow that lye to keep working in the follicle, go back and remove those hairs successfully without having to tug at them. And if you're tugging at a hair, that means it hasn't been treated properly. But with our blend method, it's a lot more safer. You can treat darker skin types, you can treat all hair thicknesses, it cuts on time, and you've got 2 mechanisms of action happening. You've got the lye actually disabling the follicle, while we have a little bit of that heat helping it along. So they're the 3 types of electrolysis that are available, for our clients. There are several different devices out on the market. We actually can supply you with the Sterex device. The Sterex device is only in the vicinity of about $3,000, so it's very affordable, and this is for the blend. Now, with the blend, you can choose your thermolysis, or you can choose your galvanic, or you can choose both. The beauty about that is this device can also then perform diathermy. Now, diathermy, utilizing the RF component of that device, is able to remove milia. It's able to treat vessels or vascular lesions, It's able to, treat other skin lesions, and it's not just for hair, which is amazing. So this device, well and truly well price pointed, and it can treat all hair color on all skin types, and as well as various lesions. It's not just vascular lesions that it can treat all sorts of different lesions. It can also treat skin tags and sebaceous hyperplasia and all sorts of things. So definitely something worth looking into, because if you do have a laser or an IPL and you're thinking, oh geez, I've done my 10 treatments and I'm still stuck with all of these hairs that I can't get rid of because they're too fair to treat, or the client is of color, then you can always fall back on your electrolysis. It does need a little bit of concentration, and you do need to have a great eye. So definitely a Maggie lamp and a set of loop, eyewear is going, or magnifying eyewear is going to help you. But it's very, very rewarding for not only yourself, but for your clients and for your business. In the addition to being able to offer vascular lesion removal, and you're able to treat and get rid of skin tags and so forth with it as well. So a great way to offer a full menu to your customer base. Before I move on, has anyone got any questions? Let's have a look. All right. So what about diathermy? I wasn't going to talk about diathermy, but if no one has any questions, I shall talk about diathermy in the last 5 minutes. I wanted to talk about timing, and also the frequency and how many treatments, because somebody asked that in one of the comments. So with timing, we're looking at roughly every 4 weeks, depending on how large the area. You might treat cheeks every 2 weeks, and every other week you might want to do, say, the chin area. So divide the areas into smaller areas. Most electrologists will only treat roughly, say, half an hour at a time. That won't, between half an hour, 45 minutes probably maximum, to be sitting there and doing one, treating one hair at a time is quite draining. So we usually say between half an hour to 45 minutes is ample time to be treating an area. And if you're just treating the same area over and over, the skin needs to be completely healed and recovered. And I would actually, with really good care and patience and practice, you need to be entering that probe into the follicle and not near the skin. So there's a skill to this, and so you don't want to be rushing this. I've seen on a number of people who have had electrolysis and they've been left with pitting or scarring, and that is from poor application. So this is where for a number of reasons, either when they come to put the needle in, they're putting it next to the follicle and not in the follicle, and so we're traumatizing the area next to it, or from going too shallow or too deep, or too much energy, so too much thermolysis. So it does take a little bit of practice to do this properly. I've had electrolysis before, relatively painless. There's a little bit of an element of pain to it, but we can reduce the pain with either anesthetic, and of course your client has to apply and supply their own anesthetic. You can't do that. That is illegal to do so. Or you can, let me see if I've got it here, or you can utilize one of these beauties, and they're only about $40. So you can buy these from our website, and you'll see injectors using these for pain management. And so your client, can just hold this on their chin or their chest or wherever it is, and this will actually help with managing their pain if it's too painful. It shouldn't be that painful. Galvanic especially is not overly painful at all. It's the RF component, and we're only wanting to use RF minimally, just to help, like I said, the galvanic process, speed that up along. So, you're only wanting to do a small area at a time. Pricing, thank you for your question. So who asked me that? Nancy asked me that. For 15 minutes of electrolysis, pricing can range anywhere from $30 to $45, depending on the clinic, the where the clinic is, the demographic, your experience, and also your speed. So when you're first starting out, I would recommend you not necessarily discount the electrolysis, but offer more time. It's always really hard to recover from discounting. So anywhere from $35 to $45 for a 15-minute session. And like I said, you want to be treating, I would say half an hour. In a half an hour block is fine, but no more than a 45-minute block. Otherwise you get tired and the client's pain levels become a little bit eroded. So was there any other questions you had there? What else was I going to say? All right. So in terms of timing, like I said, anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how fast the hair grows and where the hair is, depending on how thick the hair is as well. So the thicker the hair, generally the faster it grows, and we can actually sort of have our timings a little bit closer together, as long as the skin has completely healed. That's the only thing you need to be worried about. Yeah, so before I go, because there's only 6 more minutes, for those of you who've asked me about Diathermy previously, with Diathermy, if you do have a blend device, you can actually also perform diathermy. And there's a couple of different ways to perform diathermy when we're treating capillaries. We can either tap the capillary, so you're actually tracing along the capillary, so we're not causing too much trauma to the skin, or you can actually insert the needle into the capillary. So if the capillary is deep, we insert. If it's quite superficial, we can tap, and it's really, really quickly. It's really, really quick. There's a couple more questions here. 1 second. Do you believe electrolysis is a better modality than IPL or laser when it comes to hormonal hair? Hey, that is a really, really good question, and one that I get asked all the time. I might do a live on it, but really quickly, I'm going to ask you something, Helen. Isn't all hair hormonal apart from our scalp, our brows, and our lashes? And even our head hair is almost hormonal too, because if a woman has too much testosterone, what happens to her head? She actually starts to fine out. If you think about hormonal hair, not hormonal hair, but hair in general, when we go through puberty, so 10, 11, 12, 13, we get hairier, hairy we start to gain hair in our bikini area, our underarms for females, for guys, for males, it's their legs, and later on in life they start to get hair on their chest and their backs, and that's because there's a hormonal trigger, puberty. And then for women, there is another hormonal change, and we start to get hair developing on our chin. So whether you're going through perimenopause or you're going through menopause. So all hair, apart from our head, is pretty much hormonal, I would say. The problem with facial hair for women and for back hair for men is those hormones keep driving and triggering these dormant follicles, and so we get more and more of this growth happening. So for facial hair for women and back hair for men, I don't necessarily think electrolysis is better. I think if you have an IPL device, it would be amazing, if you do your 6 to 10 treatments to clean the bulk of that dark hair up. And if you've got lighter, finer hair or white hair that you actually can't get rid of, then you would actually go to your electrolysis. And that's how we used to perform it in our clinic. So, imagine if you've got someone who's got PCOS and they've got, hundreds and hundreds of hair. Imagine doing a hair at a time. I would go IPL or laser. And then once the hair has become finer and laser can no longer treat that finer hair, or there's not enough melanin in the hair, then definitely I would then be looking at performing electrolysis. Hopefully that helps answer your question, Helen. Rebecca, hey Rebecca, how do you determine how high you have the thermolysis and galvanic settings when using a blend? Well, that is a question. That's a really good question. We're always, thermolysis is our secondary modality, if you like, or secondary energy output. Galvanic is always going to be your hero, if you like. So we're always using galvanic, and then you start off with a really low percentage of thermolysis just to speed up that process. So you're not having to hold the probe in for, a whole minute or 2 minutes. And what you do is you slowly increase that thermolysis to be able to work out what timing is required. Now, how do you work that out is by slightly tugging at the hair. So you time it, slowly tug at the hair. Then the next, the next setting, you might increase your thermolysis by another 5%, and you'll slowly pull at it and see what happens. So your manufacturer, and it will come down to manufacturer settings, should be able to give you some baseline settings where you can work from. But like I said, your galvanic is always the hero, and your thermolysis is going to be your secondary power, unless you've got a skin type 1 or 2, or maybe even a 3, where you just go straight for the thermolysis. So, but it will be just a little bit more painful. Shelley, hey Shelley, how are you? How would you pick the best method for treating capillaries, diathermy, IPL, or cryo? Oh, we're running out of time, but really quickly, if you had a spider nevi, it's always diathermy, because you want to treat the actual feeder. If you've got normal, when I say normal capillaries, just your like telangiectasia or just your vascular lesions, then I love IPL because I can treat a whole area within a few minutes. And it's rather quick, and it has its limitations, of course, which is on a skin type 1 to 4. So in that instance, if I've got a skin type 1 and a low 4, then IPL is not a problem at all. And with your cryo, I'm a bit reluctant in using cryo because of hypopigmentation. That kind of sort of scares me a little bit, because you can't control the depth of how much cryo you're emitting into the skin. So personally, cryo is not, even though we train on cryo, it's not one of my favorite modalities. I would definitely love, I definitely would be treating first. IPL would be my first point of reference, and then if I have anything left over, I might want to clean it up with capillaries for those stubborn capillaries. But I don't know about cryo. It's not my favorite treatment. Last one, Morgan. Hello, Morgan. Can you do this on all skin fits? What are we referring to? Just let me know what you're referring to. Pleasure, Shelley. Always a pleasure. Cairo, come here while I wait for Morgan. Cairo, come on. Morgan, what are you referring to? If not, I'll have to answer it next time. No? Okay, if you're referring to diathermy, you can perform diathermy on most skin types. You have to be careful with here we go, electrolysis and treating lesions. So electrolysis you can treat definitely on all skin Fitzpatrick's, all skin Fitzpatrick's, with your galvanic. With your thermolysis, electrolysis thermolysis, you need to be careful because there is a chance of PAH if you use too much power, and if we're over treating. And last one, we've got also, how many treatments does it normally take for the hair to be removed? At least, oh God, that's really hard actually, because how long is a piece of string? It's going to be dependent on how much hair they have and why the hair is emerging. Is it because they have PCOS? Is it because they've got some underlying, hormonal problem or issue? So I would say at least 10 treatments. We never say anything under 10. And definitely maintenance is required. But if they have a hormonal underlying hormonal problem, then you should be seeking medical advice. So either send them off to an endocrinologist or get them to see a naturopath or Chinese herbalist to see what they can do with balancing out those hormones, because it is out of our scope of practice. All right, thank you so much for joining me. DB Skin Tech, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You have just joined me right at the last minute, but DB Skin Tech has partnered with Wero, who produced the Apollo Duet. So I had Apollo Duet training today. It was amazing. I love Apollo Duet, which is electroporation and RF in one. So that's a new kid on the block for us. So if you're looking for an RF device, let us know, because Apollo Duet is the one. Thank you for joining me. Have a great night. I've gone well and truly over. If you've missed any of this, please go and have a look on our YouTube channel. It is up there. If you haven't signed to YouTube, please go ahead and sign up to our channels, so the videos are going up slowly. Sandra, it has been a very big day, and I loved being in your space, showing you or talking all Apollo Duet with you. Radio frequency, I love it. All right, have a good night, everyone. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.